Welcome back to another episode of The Doctor's Inn. Today, I'm drinking a beer because if one is talking about Martin Luther, the only thing to do is to drink a beer. Now, I don't have a Belgian beer, which would have been the style that Catherine Luther would have been brewing. This is mostly because I don't like Belgians. It's one of the few beers I can't stand. So, I have a lager today. Nothing special. Now, being a teacher, one has to do a lot of reading. If a teacher teaches the same class every year, they do a lot of rereading. I like this aspect about teaching because it means that I can focus on getting better at teaching rather than just trying to stay barely ahead of my students. I spend most of my time thinking about if I can get ahead, I can spend most of my time thinking about what matters in the lesson and not how I'm just trying to get them to understand it. This week in Omnibus, we are going through some of the writings of Martin Luther. We are reading this compilation of his works. I think it gives an all right introduction to some of the thoughts of Luther. I wouldn't look at it at all as comprehensive. In class, we're actually only reading a few parts of it because of time and student capacity. I mean, it's a pretty thick book. We are only spending 1 week on this. With the selection that we are reading, we already have way too much to cover in class. So it'll be good times. Now, today I'm not giving a full analysis of this work. In reading this book, I think this is the third time I've read it, I came across a very interesting line. Gotta love how one can find new things in old works. At the beginning of each new section, there's a paragraph of background on the work that follows. The background on the sermon on the catechisms. So, on the sermons on the catechism that he gave in 1528, the editor, John Dillenberger, said this about the section. These sermons were part of a regular pattern of presenting the elements and foundations of the Christian knowledge and life 4 times each year. So these sermons cover the topics of the Apostles' Creed, the Lord's Prayer, and then baptism and the Lord's Supper, the 2 sacraments that Martin Luther would have recognized. So very introductory to Christian knowledge and also super deep theology going on here. Now, the thing that impressed me this time is that Luther taught these 4 times per year. Preaching the same thing 4 times a year. I don't like teaching the same thing 1 time a year, let alone 4 times a year. Luther had a pattern of teaching the basics to his people so they would not forget them. Now, remember, the printing press was still a pretty new invention. Reading had not spread down through all the poor people yet. They were dependent upon their priests and pastors telling them the truth. Very few people had their own Bible. A leader had to understand that no matter how far they wanted to go, if they were bringing their people along with them, they had to go at the speed of their people. Luther understood this. Why I love this is it actually reminds me to slow down and review. I do build some review into my life, like I do read my Bible through each year. But even today, during church, I was trying to figure out a way to be able to read more new books. I spent a lot of my time rereading in order to be able to teach. A lot of my work week is doing review work. This is important as a teacher, but it is hard as a leader. If one is always looking backwards, it is really hard to see the path forward. I want to accomplish more, so I need to figure out a way to get more out of my time and efforts. One thing I've been trying to do a lot is actually to mark up my books and add notes in them so that I don't have to reread the whole book. Each time I can just pretty much reread my highlights and then my questions in order to teach them. This way I can read other things in order to have a better range of knowledge for all my classes. I mean, you can see this in just this book. So lots of sections in here. I mean, even if you just look at the sheer quantity of pieces of paper I have in there, there's a lot of questions on it. Each piece of paper basically represents one question. And this is how I prepare for class. For this book, we're going over a week. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, around 20 discussion questions to cover in 3 days. I'd probably say that I'm loaded for bear on this one. I've got way more that I could possibly cover, which just makes for good time. Now, why I wanted to share this with you is to give you some encouragement. Life, especially in America, seems to be all about advancement, getting ahead and making progress. But everything that looks like advancement is not actually advancement. If one moves from one ideology to another, building from one to another, that's a good thing. But if you forget the beginning, you forget your foundation, then the ideology becomes unfounded and unstable. If the foundation is forgot, it's bad. You have to. You may have started out with your beliefs based on the solid rock, but if it gets lost under everything else that you built at the top of, well, you've built on air. A house of cards in the air is sure to flutter violently in the wind, falling to the ground with no real impression. So as you run hard to work and get better, be sure to take time to go back and do some review. It is amazing how much more you can learn each time you do this. Don't forget the foundational rocks. Look back at the promises. Trust me, every time that I go and read a great book again, I learn more from it. So take the time, go back, and sit with an old friend. It will be a comfort to your soul. Now, I am actually off to the next reread of this week, Cicero, Fun Times, Comfort College. So, with that, cheers. The doctor's out.